Hello and welcome to another episode of Shield Wolf's Game Review, where I review strategy and RPG games that are typically vintage and out of print, but not always. As always, for the YouTube algorithm, please like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment in the space provided below. If you have anything that you'd like to add in terms of links or information that might be appropriate, please provide that information in your comment, and if I think it works, I will also put that in the description so people could link out to it. Typically, I'm going to be using images from my own collection, so this probably won't even apply, but I'm going to put it up there anyway, just in case. Here's an interesting little item. This is the rules for Tunnels and Trolls, both the first edition rules and its first supplement, combined into one booklet for republication under license from Flying Buffalo to Outlaw Press. The initial license ran from 2008 onward. However, in 2009, Flying Buffalo gave the Outlaw Press Incorporated a cease and desist order, which Outlaw Press promptly ignored, and then went way overboard and started conducting piracy operations using Flying Buffalo's other information, other publications, and printing them without license. We'll get into more of the controversy a little bit later in this video, but let's talk a little bit about Flying Buffalo. Flying Buffalo is known for making excellent game supplements for Dungeons & Dragons, as well as other games, and they're known for the making of this game, Tunnels and Trolls, which is their own fantasy role-playing game rule system, which is sort of like first edition D&D light, really super simple, really easy, and in this 48-page book, it's everything you need to know to run a campaign. Tunnels and Trolls only has 3 character classes: Warrior, Magic User, and Rogue. And they have similar attributes to first edition AD&D, and they roll 3 6-sided dice for each attribute. In lieu of hit points, they use Constitution points, and if your Constitution goes down to 0, you're dead. The typical benevolent characters exist in 6 races: men, dwarves, elves, leprechauns, fairies, and hobbits. Alternatively, 7 not-so-benevolent races also exist: giants, trolls, ogres, half-orcs, orcs, goblins, and gremlins. And of course you can make your own. Each race affects the prime requisites by their racial modifications, not too unlike any other game you've ever played before. An updated version of Tunnels and Trolls exists. It has a lot of solo modules, regular campaign modules, supplements, and monster manuals. They're all pretty collectible, and for the older stuff, you can definitely expect to pay a premium. But if you have a copy of the rule book, you really don't need all that stuff. You can adapt any existing module that you have to these rules, which is kind of fun because it's a high mortality rate among the characters, so you're going to be doing a lot of rolling potentially. Now, in 2009, there was a significant rift between Flying Buffalo and Outlaw Press. And the general public consensus is that Outlaw Press was not doing a great job managing the business aspects of licensing the products from Flying Buffalo, which caused Flying Buffalo to break a relationship with them. They wanted them to stop publishing. However, Outlaw Press, really kind of with an homage to its name, continued to publish, and I think still continues to publish, Flying Buffalo stuff without permission, including on places like Amazon and eBay. I'm going to provide 2 links in the description below so you can check out some articles and make up your own mind. And there's a lot more research available on this subject, but I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. The odd thing is I don't see any retort or denial coming from Outlaw Press. I haven't found any anyway. If you do find some, please go ahead and put that in the comments below so I can link it to the description. Another kind of scumbaggy thing that apparently they did was they went onto the website for Flying Buffalo and copied a bunch of their stuff and started printing it entirely without permission, like straight up piracy. And as far as I know, no one has been punished for this yet, which is not uncommon. So yeah, unfortunately, copyright laws aren't really well enforced unless you have a tremendous amount of money to hire a huge law firm. And then you've got to be able to nail the, person being sued or the entity being sued down. And when you're crossing oceans and national boundaries, this is pretty tough to do. This is the fly page, which is, there's nothing before this other than the cover. And they put the foreword right here. This is a very short book, by the way. It's only 48 pages to include this cover. So the foreword explains that initially there was a good relationship between the Outlaw Press and Flying Buffalo. There was an agreement, and I believe it was verbal. It wasn't written, so that's another problem for them legally. Now, when you find one of these books, you're going to think, oh, this thing was printed in 1976, because that's the only date you're going to find on it. But this particular copy was printed in 2008, and I believe they printed these up into 2010 at least, and maybe up to 2013. I've seen two different answers on that. Again, Flying Buffalo told Outlaw Press to stop in 2009, so that's problematic. One of the links I'm going to put in the description below is a letter written by Ken St. Andre. And you can see that just under the postscript, his name is there as someone who's basically the copyright holder for this game. Strategy Games Unlimited is also mentioned as a licensed UK printer with Selwyn Ward as their editor. Now, that's the only time I see Selwyn Ward's name anywhere other than in this book. So I'm not sure if they were, licensed to do the printing and then they hired Outlaw Press, or if they own Outlaw Press. I don't know the answer to that question, and maybe you guys do. I made this image large enough, hopefully, so that you can read it. It basically gives you the introduction to the game system and their little homage to Dungeons and Dragons, which I thought was appropriate. And Flying Buffalo is definitely a legitimate company. If you're familiar with Grimtooth's Traps or the City Book series, those are Flying Buffalo products. They're outstanding, as you probably well know. This book is not super well organized, so you have to spray all over the place to be able to build a character. It is complete in the sense that you could create a campaign and a character fairly easily. It's only 48 pages, so it's not like you have to surf all over the place on huge thick tomes or anything. You can make a online campaign or even just a small scenario. Even for something like a Roll20 type platform, you could easily adapt a 5e character sheet or even a Pathfinder character sheet for this purpose, especially if you're not going to be doing like a super long campaign. And this game isn't really designed for that. This is really just designed for short, fun dungeon crawls and scenarios. The later edition of Tunnels and Trolls is much more easily organized and accessible information and would be more readily, usable for a longer campaign, in my opinion. That's it for this particular episode. If you liked this video, please like the episode, share, subscribe, and drop a comment in the comments spot below so that the YouTube algorithm picks up this video and spreads it around. Thank you very much.